Hello, this is Editing Lou coming in here to say welcome to Becoming Fully You with me, Lou. This episode is a message that sat on my heart because I think so many women out there, particularly if you struggle with the good girl complex or the holy girl complex as I like to call it, you struggle with whether it is right to be pursuing a calling. And so today, that's what I wanted to go into. What does it look like for the God of the universe to ask of you and to call you into something? Is it biblical? Is it true? And what should you do about it? So if that's the kind of conversation you love, stick around for the next 9 minutes. Welcome to Becoming Fully You with Lou, the place for the big-hearted, compassion-led woman of faith who loves deeply, gives endlessly, and desires to live fully aligned with who God created her to be. This is a space for soul-deep conversations about faith, well-being, identity, and calling, where we courageously let go of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and pressure, and instead choose peace, purpose, and presence, while all the time staying big-hearted and compassionate. Because we know we give our best when we are fully ourselves. Here we believe you don't have to burn out to be a blessing. You get to move in step with your values. You get to lead from overflow and not obligation. And you get to become fully you, walking in confidence as you light the way to fullness for those you love and lead. So if you're ready to step into your season, own your gifts and pour out from the overflow of a full heart, this is your time and this is your place. So grab your coffee or a tea and join me, Lou, a coach, speaker, mentor, and avid coffee drinker, as I light the way for you to step 100% into becoming fully you.
Hey, I thought I'd try something a little bit different today. Now, this could go really wrong, partly because you are balanced right now on a very rickety looking table, and secondly, somewhere in this garden there is a dog who could ruin everything. But she's pretty, so we let her off. Anyway, I've got some notes just to keep me on track, because a couple of days ago I was scrolling on Instagram and obviously scrolled on something that at the time I just went on by, and yeah, it has stuck with me, and I wanted to just give a bit of my 2p into the arcade machine, because I found I just kept thinking about it and ruminating on it and trying to work out where I sat with what had been said. And as I began to formulate what was happening in my mind, I really felt I wanted to share, because I have this conversation with people, and what it's about is calling. On this Instagram, the phrase that I heard, I don't even know particularly where she was going with it, although I do believe she was saying this phrase as something she believed in rather than a controversial statement. But she basically said calling isn't in the Bible, and so Christians shouldn't waste their time working out this special assignment that they've got from God. And it's not just her, and I'm not calling her out as wrong. It's not just her. This is something that I hear. And in basic marketing, we are taught you need to stand on something, you need to have an argument, you need to have a controversial opinion. And it really stuck with me, because I thought to myself, I don't stand in the either or camp with this. You see, I don't stand in the camp of there is no such thing as calling, and yet I don't stand in the camp of everything is all about your calling. And it felt like in my mind I was trying to have to make this decision, and I feel like when I talk to clients, they are in this place too. And so these two camps appear to have been formed. Find your calling, and there is no such thing as calling. And what I realized was, if I need to stand in a camp, if I was to stand in a camp, then I don't stand in either of them, but rather I stand in the place of nuance, context, and semantics. And so I wanted to just share a little bit about my thoughts here. I see it like this. It is a both and situation. And I think so much that we form opinions on and that we scroll past at the moment, particularly as Christians, are very black and white stances on things that are nuanced and need context and semantics attached to them. And so that is where I stand, and it always has been. And I think I've suddenly had this epiphany that it is actually okay. That's not a flaky place to be. You see, I see the points as if I was in a valley with both arguments raised up either side, and because of the way that God has created my brain, I see patterns, I see trends, I see how both can relate to each other. I see how they can hold hands, party together, even be good for one another. And like I said, this isn't to slate or negate her point. I think it is valid, and so that's where I want to start. I don't believe, even with everything I do about being fully you, even with all the work I do with clients around what do you feel you're called to do, and we'll come to that in this episode, I don't believe there is one special assignment that God has made for us that we need to somehow, like James Bond, go on mission to find. There is no M, there is no Q, there is no person who is going to hand this to us in a document or have to go undercover to find out. That's not what this is about. You see, we aren't given a special assignment, but in other ways we are. And this is where and this is where I think it gets nuanced, and this is going to get really hard work. Can you go and play, please? Talking to the dog, by the way, if you're on audio here. You see, we are all called to the Great Commission. This is what she was saying, which is absolutely true. We are all called to the Great Commission. We are all called to the two greatest commandments, to love God and to love people. And I also agree that even in my mind, we do have personal calling, like I said. Sounds contradictory, but we'll come to that. I do believe that we don't have to go searching for it. And I never do that with my clients. We don't go on some free your mind experience. Even in my Arise days, they're not some free your mind experience where you suddenly discover this hidden thing that you never realized, and suddenly it comes out of you, this thing that you were always meant to do with your life. What I do is I help you unpack who God has made you to be, and therefore what you do with that. In some ways, the semantics is less of a calling and more of an asking, and the fulfilling of this is who God has created me to be. This is where in this season He has placed me to be. And so I outwork my faith, I outwork the giftings that He's given me, whether in the natural or the supernatural. I outwork them into the area where I have been placed. And that area, it can be a number of places. So we could say there's in England, or within my church area where I live, within my job, within my spheres of influence. So that might be your family, that might be, as I said, your workplace or your community, or a particular burden of people group that is on your heart that you feel called to work with. It's an asking, it's a taking God's hand and stepping into what He has put on your heart. We don't have to go searching for this calling as if it is some treasure hidden underneath something. It is there, it is obvious, it is just responding. But the call of God on your life, the global call, if you would, is to go and make disciples, to love God. And that is the call on our life, to offer up our life as a living sacrifice, to honour God with all He has given us and all He has put in us as we bring His kingdom on this earth. The call of God is to follow Him. Yeah, all these things are true, and yet, I believe that God is absolutely purposed you as an individual. And the part that I definitely disagreed with was that there is no such thing in the Bible. Yes, of course, there is no Bible verse that says, and you must go and discover your calling. There is no Bible verse. Absolutely, I agree with that. And yet, you see people with personal mandates on their life. You see people throughout the Bible names. You see people throughout the Bible with skills. And they are pulled and drawn into people groups. Even the Gospels, they were written for different people groups, people that were on their heart. Peter and Paul, they disagreed on where they were going, not because there was some big wrongness in one of them, but because one was called one way, one was called the other way. And so yes, God is personally involved in your life. That is why we see these lists of names in the Bible, because He is interested in you personally. So while I don't think you need to go on some secret treasure hunt, I do believe that God has given you a personal calling, if you must, on your life. Here's what I see when I look in the Bible. A God who bothers with names, who speaks individually, who places and directs people's hearts to other people. I see specific assignments in specific seasons being given to people. I see individual shaping, individual gifting that overflows into community. You see, what I don't see is lone rangers as much. Everything that is done, everything that is given is to overflow into other people. So yes, we have one calling, one purpose, but how it is outworked, how it looks, is individual. And even more than that, in many cases, is seasonal. And this is why I'm passionate about having pauses in your life. This is why I create these soul spaces through journal club, through intentional, through reflective days, through Arise, through all the offers that I put out there. What the core of them is doing is calling women to soul spaces where they can rest and listen and be realigned with who God has made them to be, with who He is, with His call on their life in that season. It isn't about an inward search, this is about an upward search. God, the more I get to know you, the more I look at you, the more I spend time with you, the more I understand your plans and your purposes for my life. And not because it's about me, but because it's about partnership between you and me, a God who is passionately involved in my life, who has created good works for me to do, in advance for me to do, that bring your kingdom to this earth. So if you like those kind of conversations, if you want those conversations about truly honouring God with your whole self, your whole life, then stick around. This is the place to be. You are cheeky.